Hello students, today I want to discuss the topic the producer-consumer problem. And before discussing the producer-consumer problem, firstly we should know what is the priority inversion problem. As in the previous topic, as we have learned already, I told you the Peterson solution and the solution using CSL are correct, but both have the defect of requiring a busy waiting. Not only does this approach basically waste CPU time, but it can also have an unexpected effect. Priority inversion is an operating system scenario in which a higher priority process is preempted by a lower priority process. This implies the inversion of the priorities of the two processes. The scheduling rules are such that when the higher priority process, that is H, is run when it is in ready state at a certain moment with lower priority process L in its critical region, H becomes ready to run. H now begins busy waiting, but since L is never scheduled while H is running, the L never gets a chance to leave its critical region. So H loops forever, and this situation is sometimes referred to as the priority inversion problem. What are the problems due to which the priority inversion problem occurs? It is basically a system malfunction which may occur if a high priority process is not provided the required resources. Priority inversion may also lead to implementation of corrective measures, and these may include the resetting of the entire system. The performance of the system can be reduced due to priority inversion, and this may happen because it is imperative for the higher priority task to execute promptly. System responsiveness decreases as high priority tasks may have strict time constraints or real-time response guarantees. Sometimes there is no harm caused by priority inversion as the late execution of the higher priority process is not noticed by the system. Now, we should know what is the producer-consumer problem. In computing, the producer-consumer problem is also known as the bounded buffer problem, and it is basically a classical example of a multi-process synchronization problem being proposed by Dijkstra. Here, the problem describes two processes, the producer and the consumer, who share a common fixed size buffer used as queue. The producer job is to generate the data, put it into the buffer and start again. At the same time, the consumer is consuming the data, that is removing it from the buffer one piece at a time. The problem is to make sure that producer won't try to add data into the buffer if it is full, that the consumer won't try to remove the data from an empty buffer. The solution for the producer is to either to go to sleep or discard the data if the buffer is full. The next time the consumer removes an item from the buffer, it notifies the producer who starts to fill the buffer again. In the same way, the consumer can go to sleep if it finds the buffer empty, and the next time the producer puts the data into the buffer, it wakes up the sleeping consumer. There are two subroutines which are being written into the C language. They are not being taken as a standard C library, but presumably would be made available on any system that actually had these system calls. Here, these sleep and wake up are the system calls which being used in this producer consumer problem. We should know when the sleep system call will be called and when the wake up system call will be called. But as but it leads to the same kind of a race condition which we saw in the Spuler directory. There are several situations where the race condition can be arises. Here, the sleep is a system call that causes the caller to block, that is being suspended until another process wakes it up. And the wake up system call has one process, one parameter, the process to be awakened. These both are the system call which can be called by a producer as well as the consumer. We can see it is a producer code and it is a consumer code. When producer will going to call a producer code when the process want to produce an item or want to place an item into the buffer. Here, we assume that the size of the buffer is n, and to generalize the problem, we can have an m producers and n consumers. But for this particular case, we assume there is only one producer and one consumer. The basic trouble arises when the producer wants to put a new item into the buffer, but it is already full, and the solution is for the producer to go to sleep, to be awakened when the consumer has removed one or more item. Similarly, if the consumer wants to remove an item from the buffer and sees that the buffer is empty, it goes to sleep until the producer puts something in the buffer and wakes it up. This approach sounds simple enough, but it leads to the same kind of a race condition we already saw in the spooler directory. And to keep the track of the number of items in the buffer, we will need a variable count. We will need a variable count. If the maximum number of items the buffer can hold is n, the producer code will first test to see if count is n, and if it is, the producer will go to sleep. And if it is not, the producer will add an item and increment the count. Similarly, in the consumer section, the consumer code is almost similar. First, the consumer will going to test the count to see if it is 0. If it is 0, it go to sleep, and if it is non-zero, it remove an item and decrement the counter. Each of the processes also tests to see if the other should be awakened, and if so, wakes it up. Now, individually, we're going to discuss the code of producer and consumer. Here we can see it's a in a function. The function type is no return type, no data type. Here we have an item variable uh, consisting of type data type integer. While when the process enters into the while loop, it will going to place how many items it is already being produced in the item variable. As we know, the size of the buffer is n. If the count value is, as count is a global variable which is being shared among the producer as well as a consumer, producer will increment the value of count and consumer will decrement the value of count. If the value of count is n, then this condition will be true and producer will going to call a sleep system call. But if the count value is not n, that is not, the buffer is not full, then this condition will be false and we will going to read the next instruction. Next instruction is that the producer can insert an item into the buffer, as well as it will going to increment the value of count. And when the value of count is being incremented, then the producer will call a wake system call for a consumer. Okay. Similarly, on the side of the consumer, the code is almost similar. We can see as the count variable is a global variable, both the processes can read the value of क्या कहते हैं, count. When the consumer going to execute checks the buffer, it will going to first check what is the value of count. If it is 0, then consumer will going to call a sleep system call. And if it is not 0, it will go in the next instruction will going to be read, and it means the buffer has one or more items to so that consumer can consume, and it will going to remove an item. After removing an item, the consumer will going to decrement the value by 1, as well as going to call a wake up system call for a producer, and going to print that I already consume an item, and it will go until and unless the buffer not get empty. There may get one issue can raise in this. That's as already I told you that we can have a race condition at which situation the race condition will going to be occur. It can occur because access to count is unconstrained. As a consequence, the following situation could possibly occur. The buffer is empty and the consumer has just read count to see if it is zero. At that instant, the scheduler decides to stop running the consumers temporarily and start running the producer. The producer inserts an item in the buffer, increments the count, and notice that now it is 1. Reasoning that count was 0 and thus the consumer must be sleeping, the producer calls a wake up to wake the consumer. Unfortunately, the consumer is not yet logically asleep, so the wake up signal is lost. When the consumer next runs, it will test the value of count it previously read and finds it to be 0 and go to sleep. Sooner or later, the producer will fill up the buffer and also go to sleep. Both will sleep forever. The essence of the problem here is that a wake up sent to a process that is not sleeping is lost. If it were not lost, everything would work. A quick fix is to modify the rules to add a wake up waiting bit to the picture. When a wake up is sent to a process that is still awake, this bit is set. Later, when the process tries to go to sleep, if wake up waiting bit is on, it will be turned off, but the process will still awake. The wake up waiting bit is kind of a piggy bank for storing a wake up signals. The consumer clears the wake up waiting bit in the every iteration of the loop. While the wake up waiting bit saves the day in the simple example, it is easy to construct example with 3 or more processes in which one wake up bit is insufficient. The solution we can get through the semaphores. Firstly, we should know what is semaphore. A semaphore is a variable or an abstract data type which is used to control access to a common resource by multiple processes in a concurrent system such as multitasking operating system. A semaphore is simply a variable and this variable is used to solve a critical section problem and to achieve the process synchronization in a multi-processing system. A useful way to think of a semaphore as used in the real-world system is a record of how many units of a practical resource are available, coupled with operations to adjust the record safely as units are acquired or become free and if necessary, wait until a unit of the resource become available. Semaphores are a useful tool in the prevention of race condition. However, their use is by no means a guarantee that a program is free from these problems. Semaphore, which allow an arbitrary resource count, are called counting semaphores, while semaphores, which are restricted to the value 0 and 1, are called binary semaphores and are used to implement locks. As we know, it stores an integer variable that is used to store a count of pending wake-up signal. It supports two operations, down and up. If semaphore is 0, then process calling down operation should go to sleep. Else, if semaphore value is not 0, simply decrement the value of semaphore by 1 and continue execution. So we can see in the down operation, we perform in the down operation we perform a decrement operation. In up operation, we increment the value of the semaphore address. If one or more processes were sleeping on that semaphore, which are unable to complete an earlier down operation, one of them is chosen by the system and it is allowed to complete its down. So if value of semaphore is greater than 0, then simply increments its value and continue execution. Else if value is 0 but no process is sleeping on semaphore, then also simply increments value and continue execution. And other than that, if value is still 0 and some processes are sleeping on that semaphore, then pick any of them sleeping process and let them continue down operation, but do not increment semaphore value. With the help of a code, we can understand this thing. Here, similarly, as we have seen in the producer-consumer problem, we have a two subroutines. For the producer, we have a different function, and for the consumer, we have a different function. In this also, if we, for the semaphore, for the producer also, we have a different function, and for the consumer, we have a different function. Code is similar, but in few lines, the code has been updated. As for solving the producer-consumer problem by using semaphore, it may work correctly, and it is essentially that they may be implemented in an indivisible way. The normal way is to implement up and down as system call, while the operating system briefly disabling all the interrupts while it is testing the semaphore, updating it, and putting the process to sleep if necessary. As of all, these actions takes only a few instructions. No harm is done in disabling interrupts. If multiple CPUs are being used, each semaphore should be protected by a lock variable with the test or lock set lock instruction, which is used to make sure that only one CPU at a time examines the semaphore. Be sure to understand that test and set lock to prevent several CPU from accessing the semaphore at the same time is quite different from the producer or consumer busy waiting for the other to empty or fill the buffer. The semaphore operation will take only few microseconds, while the producer consumer might take arbitrary long. Here we see here the variable n is basically the size of the buffer. Semaphore is a special kind of a variable. Already we have I told you about this, and it stores a value of int. Semaphore mutex initialized with the value 1, and semaphore empty is initialized with the value n. Wherever we have been seeing it is being written mutex, it means it will be by default will initialize with the value of n, and when it is being shown with the empty, it goes to n. When semaphore, the next semaphore is being of full is being initialized with the value 0. Okay. These solution basically, here we can see these solution basically uses three semaphores. One called full for counting the number of slots that are full, one called empty for counting the number of slots that are empty, and one called mutex to make sure the producer and consumer do not access the buffer at the same time. Full is initially 0, empty is initially equal to the number of slots in the buffer, and mutex is initially 1. Semaphores that are initialized to 1 and are used by two or more processes to ensure that only one of them can enter its critical region, and at the same time are called binary semaphores. If each process does a down just before entering in its critical region and an up just after leaving it, mutual exclusion is guaranteed. In the case of the producer, when a producer want to produce an item, the item value will be going to produce item value will going to be stored in item. Firstly, it will going to call the value down so that the count variable can be decremented by 1. Then it will going to again call a count so that it can enter into the critical region. Then it will going to insert an item into the buffer. Before leaving into the critical region, it will increment the value of mutex as well as increment the value of full. Similarly, in the side of the consumer, when it will going to consume, when it want to consume a item from the buffer, before consuming it, it will decrement the value of full, decrement the value of mutex, remove an item from the buffer, going to increment the value of mutex, and going to increment the value of empty. So these are the three semaphores. Again, I'm going to repeat for you. Here, the semaphore full is being used for counting the number of slots that are full. Empty is being used for counting the number of slots that are empty, and mutex is basically to make sure that only producer or consumer do not access the buffer at the same time. See? And here, if the value is going from 0 to 1, it means the type of a semaphore is binary semaphore. In a system where we using a semaphore, the natural way to hide the interrupt is to have a semaphore initially set to 0 associated with each input-output device. Just after starting an input-output device, the managing process does a down on the associate semaphore, thus blocking immediately. As we can see in this particular example, we have actually used the semaphores in two different ways. The difference is important enough to make explicit. The mutex semaphore is used for a mutual exclusion, and it is designed to guarantee that only one process at a time will be reading or writing the buffer and the associated variable. And this mutual exclusion is required to prevent chaos. Similarly, the other semaphore is being used for the synchronization. The full and empty semaphores are needed to guarantee that certain event sequences do or do not occur. In this case, they ensure that the producer stop running when the buffer is full and the consumer stop running when it is empty. This use is different from the mutual exclusion. Thank you.